Hello, sir. Today I'm discussing about introduction of Git and why developer use Git and what is the need of Git in our if you are developing any application, if you're developing any app and developing any software, why we use Git. So firstly, we're going to here. Firstly, we're going to paint and describing about that. In the previous years, in the previous years, if we want to explain firstly on this, in the previous year, in the 19th century, 19th century. It's like 1995 and 1998 approx. And after that, if we any developer, if we any developer, this is the developers who developing these applications. If any developer, he is a developer one, he is a developer one, and he is developer second. Okay, he's developer one and he's developer second. If we developer one, starting the developing, both developers starting to developing a website on which if you developer one execute and developer one start the code using and developer one start the code and you creating navbar. Okay, start the code using navbar, creating navbar. And developer two did not know about what developer one do. So he also using creating navbar. Interaction between developer one and developer two is null. After that, the both of these guys are developing navbar, and after that, if any system and any version control package have not here, doesn't have here. After that, developer one and developer two send the code to the master branch and send the code to the masters, master or manager, manager after manager check the code and tell told to the both the developer, okay, both of these developer created neighbor. So this after that time waste and different of functionality and different of systematic ways are all the waste. So due to which stopping this type of scenarios, they are a company which name as mm, I don't know, forget about it. And the company started creating a source code management software on which software source code management with which a remote server have a have a developers data on which developer access and developer to and many developer check what will be and what will developer one and developer two and multi developer do on that day. After that, source code management having two types: centralized version control and distributed version control system. Now, firstly, we're going to here and checking and explaining about what is centralized. This is a centralized version control system on which this is the person one, this is a person second, and this is person third. Firstly, then this is a repository. This is also called a remote server, and we are using a remote server. This is also a remote server. This is also a remote server. After that, if a person one commit is person one doing and developing application, after that on a day of evening, he send to code to remote server. He send a code to remote server. If we explaining on this type of data, let me assume this is the data. Firstly, on day one, person one do the changes on day one. Person one develop application on this amount which we called A. This is a code. This is an application which are completed in day one is A part, and person two who lives in the US and person one who lives in India. One person in they are the day night combination and day night shift combination. After that, person one going to home and send code to the remote server. On same day, one person two access the code from remote server. What will be code done by one developer done work done by person one and developer one. After that he doing a job and after that he doing job and he started working on then on the same day person two complete the code which name is B. After that on the second day person one checking its remote server and then he said then he see a B code is also done by person two. After that person is not doing the B work, person one starting a work and person one starting a work and further and using this is B, B code he developing application and done the work by person third is person one is code C. And this is repetitions done again and again. After that, after that, this is a work done by this and the developer doing the work as the same scenario on until whether application will be completed or not. Okay, there are some. These are some basic of centralized centralized version control system, but there are some disadvantages and notably what disadvantage is like this is our data. The data sent to the remote server. And remote server is just like a remote server type of remote server we are using. It's like AWS, similar to GitHub services, similar to Jira software, Jira, similar to Mercurius. They are some of the similar cloud computing or cloud server on which we have developers send data to cloud. This is a manager. After that, after the person one access the data, uh, after that person one send the data to a remote server which is called commit. After that, on second day, person one access the data from remote server which is called update, which called here update. This process is repeatedly until our work done or application development is completed or not. After that, if there are some huge disadvantages of this centralized version control system, on which first major disadvantage is if this remote server is broken, then all the data which sent by person one, person two, and person three is destroyed or lost. All the data all the data which developer do is completely lost, in which we get 0 because remote server is broken and the copy of the code is not stored in a system by using code is stored using. After that, these are some huge disadvantages of centralized version control system, and data is 0. We are going to our database. Now we are going to here. In a centralized version control system, it is a repository or a remote server on which your data stored in repository, or it's a dynamic storage. On what is dynamic storage? This is remote server repository is also called a dynamic storage, which is a storage on which our data is stored or not. Okay. Now after that, using commit command as your entire data saved to remote server. Using commit command and our entire data sent to the remote server or a repository or a dynamic storage. There are some drawbacks of centralized version control system. Some is similar to this. It is not available locally. Means you must connect to internet to access your data to repository or remote server to perform any action in that code. If okay, sorry, it's a mistake. If on a second day, if developer doing the job on which you are using developer C, if developer have not a urban area having no internet, so developer doesn't access the data from remote server This is a huge disadvantage by centralized version control system. After that, if remote server failed, then you will lost all your data instantly. In whichever, if our remote server our remote server on storage is failed, then all the database completed by and saved by the developers is lost. After that, CVC are easy to learn and setup. It is easy to learn and setup. On using setup, it is easy to learn and setup. After that, CVC is slow as compared to DVCS. CVC are slow as compared to DVCS, maybe due to its internet connectivity. This is the issue on which why CVCS is slow. On the fifth point is if CVCS server will fail, then all the data server will be lost, which means as also explained about above, CVCS do not provide a code offline in which due to having a must internet connectivity, the code will be not available on locally or not available in offline mode. These are some CVCS centralized version control system to update this to overcome these drawbacks. To overcome these drawbacks, Mr. Linus Torvald, who develops also Linux operating system, who also develop Linux operating system. Mr. Linus Torvald, who developed a Git in 2005. What is Git and what is distributed control system? So firstly, we're going to over this. So we are deleting this firstly. Okay, we are not firstly we are not deleted this. Now we're going to over this. This is our distributed control system. This is distributed control version control system. Sorry, distributed version control system. Okay. This is developer one. If you have PC1, this is a PC2. This is PC3. This is a local repo which you have a folder which are stored in your developer's hard disk. This we are saying. Okay, this moment stores in developer hard disk. This is a local repo. This is a folder or this is a local repo, which means they are it is a copy of repository or master branch which are stored in a developer system. This is also local repo. This is also local repo. And this is a PC1, PC2, and PC3. Firstly, we're going to here and explaining what is Git. At fit, Git comes across an easy tool that can be learned up later when there is a real need. You cannot what is version control system. Firstly, we're explaining what is version control system. Version control refers to the practice of tracking and managing changes to software code. We will say if you manager who track the its system and it's track its software, how much software is done or not. Refer to software tool that assists software teams in managing changes to source code over time. Okay. Top benefit of version control system: trace the changes made to the code. In which, what is the benefits of version control system? Trace the changes. Trace the changes made to the code, which means how much work done by a developer on that day. Manager who manage the remote server file access. How much work done by developer on that application. Simplify code review and developer also manager also code review, and if any type of error, any type of query, directly call to the developer and reviewing this and improve this instantly. Modified code efficiently, which means our code is more efficiently modified by a senior developers. Revert change that introduce bugs. These are some basics of Git. Easy integration with less productive tools. Better collaboration and improved team productivity. Git is a distributed version control framework that is free and open source. Linus Torvald, the developer of Linux operating system, version control system have a completely copy of the project as well as full revision history of each file, which it means we're going to a paint. If we want to new file, don't save. If he's furiously explaining on this. This is a manager. Now this is developer 1, this is developer 2, and this is developer 3. Okay. Manager 1 wants to access checking manager. We also design a repository, which will be that. Okay. This is also a repository or a remote server. We also call a master branch. Master branch on which developer 1, developer 1, this is developer 2. Now this is developer 3. Okay. Developer 1. On application day first, developer 1 send data to master branch. Developer 1 send data to master branch, and also on the same day, developer 2 also send data on a master branch, and developer 3 didn't start the work on the application. So this is not okay. Developer 3 doesn't work on the that application on that day. If your manager wants to check how much developer do the work on that application, firstly your master branch manager direct access manager 1 manager direct access to the master branch on a developer and checking how much work done by developer 1 and how much work done by developer 2 and how much work done by developer 3. After that, he's checking the work done by developer 1. And after that, developer 2 also check the what will be the work done by developer 1 on one day, on day 1, and they will also check the how much work done by developer 2 on that day. So these are three guys. Okay, these are three guys who also check the how much work done by these both of guys on that day, and if he check how much done work done by on that day on these both of developers on that day same on the same day. If intersection if it's developers work with the intersection, then the customer developer one designing a nav bar and developer two also designing nav bar. If developer two checking, developer one also designing nav bar, then developer two starting a work on a different node and different parameter and different functionality. So if you want to, we're going to our Flipkart functionality in developer one who developing the login page, then developer to access the data on which developer one what will developer one do, then if he checking he wrote developer one doing the job on the login page, then developer two also start the work on the login page, developer to start the work on the login on a card page. It's like our add to cart and history and over the user. And then developer 3 developer is checking the both of these guys data what is the work done by developer 1 and developer 2, and developer is starting the working on a cart. Developer 1 3 starting working on cart, which means these three guys distribute their work and complete application very fastly and rapidly. These parameters are the is repeatedly, and this parameter is called DevOps operations. If we want to explain what is DevOps operations, just like that. What is DevOps operation? Development and operations. Okay, this is our development and operations. It is also called DevOps, on which developer one is designing a designing a different functionality. Developer to designing a different functionality, and developer to designing a different functionality, and all the code sent to the master branch, and master branch merge the manager merge these of his data and update it to the master branch. Then he send a he send a work source code to the client, and after that client checking over how much work done by developers on the application. If we want to explain on this, if we have this is also designing a client section. If a client wants to check how much data is, how much software is done, or how much work done by developer on within the 7 days, then he can check the how much work done by developers on day on that day, and how if your client wants to checking a client want to checking the data, then master branch depot also installed in a client server on which client checking how much data work done by these developers on that day. There's different parameters of this is also called a distributed control version control system, sorry, on which different functionality done by developers on a same day, on which the functionality will not be intersect or collide. So if we this process is also called distributed version control system. And after that, we are going to hear an explaining on this. This is a repository master branch. This is a PC1. This is a PC2. Then a PCT. Now, firstly, let me assume a PC1 developer who designing the nav bar to and send update to the local repo, which are is a folder which are stored in a developer's own hard disk, and then send pull request to the repository of master using a different IDE using VS Code and Sublime Text Editor and Atom. Then developer 2, PC2, checking the how what will be the work done by developer 1, and then he checking the developer 1 develops the navbar. Then developer 2 start the work on not navbar. Then developer to start the work on a login page, different pages like a if developer develops login page, then developer starting the cart page. We mentioned how to scrolling down and how to add a cart to the system. So developer 2 start the work on that parameter. Then developer 3 checking what will be work done by developer 1, then what will be work done by developer 2, then it send to the pull request. Developer 2 send pull request to the main branch remote server. Then developer 3 checking how much work done by that application on both of the developer. Then he's designing the part on which he's designing the part is cart page, which is a cart functionality on a same application. If developer one having any error, having an issue, didn't do the didn't complete their login page job, then he send pull request to the master branch. Then he sent request to the PC3 who have a who have a specialty on doing and explaining the login page, exploring the login page. Then developer 3, okay, then developer 3 push request, then developer 3 pull request from the sorry, push request from the master branch, and then the work done by developer one is is stored in a developer three system. And after that, the developer three complete this task and send pull request to the master. And after that, the work done login page is all completely done by this developer. This both of these developer is having an issue. He send to the master branch, and master branch after that master branch. This both of PC1 and PC2 developer having the push request to the master branch and complete their work on their time. This is the same scenario in which main companies like Google, Microsoft, and different companies having using this parameters and using this scenario and this operations to complete does its job, just like Infosys and different companies doing this same process. Now we are going to explain distributed control system. Firstly, Linus Torvald developed Git in 2005, who also developed Linux operating system. Okay. What is the functionality of distributed control system? In distributed version control system, every contributor have a copy or clone main distributor, which means we're going to append. This is our data on which it is copied to the master branch. I mean, if our master branch data is completely lost, if our remote server is lost, if our remote server is lost, then the local repo which are stored in a developer's hard disk having a code to the system. So this is a major drawback in the CVCS and overcome by distributed control system. After that, in distributed version control system, having every contributor access the other contributor's code using different requests from master branch. Yeah, we are already exploring on this. If the PC2 access how much work done by developer one is simply push request from master and checking what will be the work done by developer one. Okay. After that, DVCs are difficult to learn for beginner due to due to multiple commands in our Git and Git. DVCs are difficult to learn for beginners. DVCs are faster than CVCs. Why is it faster than CVCs? Due to a reason, because it is local depot in our system. Due to this folder, due to this process, we are DVCs are faster than CVCs. If DVC server is down, then all data stores in local depot, the developer's hard disk. DVC provides its code offline using a local depot in developer system. Okay, this is our DVCS. Now we're going to explore on many topics like it's called GitHub and AWS, Amazon Web Services. And these are services. These are the services which are done by which are maintained to the our remote server to storing our data to a master branch. So these are enough for me for today, sir. This is the intro of CVCS and DVCS and what is Git and how why developer need Git and after that further we exploring about the Git multiple Gits commands. Okay, sir.